All right, June Q&A round 2. All right, I'm gonna jump into the questions here. NLM asks, is there a reason your large paintings are on canvas instead of hardboard? Yes, anything over 16 by 20, I go to stretched canvas, and the main reason is hardboard is really heavy, so anything larger than 16 by 20 gets to be pretty heavy. Also tends to warp, and so you'd have to build a backing structure and whatever. So anything over 16 by 20, I go to stretched canvas, and I buy pre-stretched canvas, although I'm gonna start stretching my own in the near future, and I'll make a video about that. All right, Greta asks, do you find your paintings are more successful when you work energetically, making quick statements with the brush? So I do like the results better when I paint quickly and more energetically. And also with something like the ocean, I feel that it conveys some of the energy of the movement and whatever, if I'm doing, if there's a lot of energy in the brushwork. There's a lot of paintings I've seen, a lot of seascapes, in fact, are painted in a very careful way. And I feel like they don't really capture a lot of the motion and energy of the water. George Bellows is a painter who I think does capture it. His compositions are kind of whack, but he does capture a lot of the energy of the water. So I'd like to do something like George Bellows, but with maybe stronger compositions. All right, moving on. LM asks, what kind of lighting is best for the studio? I like natural lighting, so I like to do a mix between north light. In the kitchen here behind me, there's a window that's north light, so I paint in the kitchen here. The light is really good in here. For smaller works, the larger work I do out in the studio, which tends to be darker than I'd like it to be. So for in there, I did put skylights, so I have some north light, and then I've just augmented it with just some cheap clip-on lights from the hardware store. It's kind of like aluminum shell, and you can put whatever bulb you want in. It's got a clamp and you clip it. I've got like 4 of those. The nice thing about that is I can move them around depending on what I'm doing. All right, so Megan asks, is painting your main source of income? Yeah, painting is the main source of my income. As you guys know, I do have a little bit of income from YouTube, so they're from the ads that are run, but that's typically about $150 a month. It's not much. And then I also get some money from Patreon, thanks to my Patreon supporters, much obliged. So really this channel is primarily supported by the people who contribute on Patreon. So if you're interested in pitching in, hit the link in the description. All right, Crafty asks, how should an aspiring artist go about finding their style? The short answer is just paint a lot or draw a lot. Whatever your medium is, just do it as much as possible. And then I think your style will sort of emerge naturally. I think one of the mistakes you can make as a beginning artist is to emulate somebody else's style, or whether it's composition, subject matter, or their brushwork or that sort of thing. To be honest, there are artists that are experienced artists that will jump onto a certain style or a certain aesthetic because it happens to be doing well in galleries and selling well. I would steer away from that. I think it's best just to kind of really figure out who you are, and there's no way to do that except just by doing it a lot. So that's what I'd say. Just paint or draw or do whatever it is you do creatively, do it as much as possible. Okay, so John asks, is there a particular region of the US or world whose art/culture inspires you? I'd like to explore more of the US. Obviously the West and California is a big thing for me. As I drive around and I paint, I'm realizing how little of the state I've seen. I wish it wasn't so big. I mean, I like that it's big in some ways, but it's just, to get from like say here down to the desert, it's probably 10 hours. If I want to go up to the, to the border of Oregon where there's redwoods, I think that's about 10 hours. So it's just huge. But there's a lot of variety here. So my primary focus, I think, for the near future is going to be exploring the different areas of California. I feel like because I live here and I do feel a connection to the place, I want to know, I want to paint here. I want to paint here and explore here more. So I'd say California is number one. I grew up on the East Coast until I was 14. In the Northeast, in New Jersey, we used to go up to New England for in the summers. So that's another area that I have a personal connection with. I have not painted much in the New York and New Jersey area. I'd like to do that, hopefully in the fall, and I'll make videos. And the main reason I find as an artist, I like to be connected, have some relationship with a place. I feel, you know, it helps in inspiring me, you know, to paint those locations. But honestly, I'm interested in all kinds of art and all kinds of cultures. All right, so Brittany Marie asks, do you put down your camera and film yourself walking? Yes, I have a tripod. I put my camera down and film myself walking, setting up my easel, doing all kinds of things, and then I just look through and I find the best clips and then I assemble them into a video. I think it's really important to have shots of myself in the environment so that you guys can kind of see the scale of things and setting to see where it is. I know when I see videos, I like to see that sort of thing. Okay, so George asks, how many of your plein air paintings are gallery ready without touch-ups? I would say 0. So the paintings that I choose to send off to a gallery tend to be the ones that are 99% complete when they come home from like an outdoor painting session. All I've got to do is kind of just clean it up a little bit, sign it, and off it goes. Now, of my plein air paintings, how many are in that category? I don't know, it might be 3 in 10, 2 in 10, nah, more like 2 in 10. So probably 1 out of every 5, so 20%. Is that enough numbers for you? Anyway, so I'd say about 20%. All right, so John asks, any advice for young people beginning an art collection? I would say just trade art with friends. That's something that I should probably be doing. I see a lot of work that I like, and I would like to have an art collection, but you know, on an artist's income, it's kind of difficult to buy art. So if I was ever to come into money, I would definitely have a good art collection. I think it's really important to have handmade things in your life. How much in your house is made by hand and how much was made by machine or factory or whatever? I think it's time to start putting some handmade, people-made stuff in your house. All right, so I'm gonna end it there. That's the end of the questions, but I hope you enjoyed this Q&A. Let me know if you have any more questions down below, and I'll see you in the next video.